Here's something that I wish I had known earlier when starting my color mixing journey. Did you know that if you have a 12 spokes color wheel, you should end up with 6 contrasting colors? And 3 of those contrasting colors should be a gray-black, and 3 of them should be a brown or a tan kind of color. So if you're wanting to mix those really nice yellow ochres or those burnt umbers within your color wheel, this video is for you. If this is the first video that you are tuning into, make sure to check out the playlist that I will link below, as well as put in the little eye icon in the corner, or you might find yourself a little bit lost. So over the past couple of weeks, we have been building our own functional color wheel, starting with the primary colors, going into secondary, tertiary, and now we're going into contrasting colors, also known as complementary colors. Contrasting colors, according to Google, are colors that sit directly across from each other or opposite from each other on the color wheel. When these colors are mixed together, they can neutralize each other and create grays and browns. Probably the most famous contrasting color combo is Christmas colors, green and red. But there is actually a slew of contrasting colors when we are exploring our color wheel. So to make our mixing journey as easy as possible, the very first thing that I do is basically lay out the 12 spoke color wheel, and in each of the circles, I start with my primary magenta color and place a 1 in that circle, and then going clockwise, I continue to fill in each circle with a number ranging all the way to 6. So basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Once I have those numbers down, I go down to the bottom of my color wheel and start all over again, writing down the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. By doing this, it makes it a lot easier for us to visualize and group where our contrasting colors actually are on the color wheel. And this is going to help us actually figure out which color combos make grays and which color combos make browns. So as you can see, we have made 6 contrasting color combos, beginning with group 1 is primary magenta as well as secondary green. Group 2 is tertiary magenta orange as well as tertiary green blue. Group 3 is secondary orange as well as primary blue. Group 4 is tertiary orange yellow as well as tertiary blue purple. Group 5 is primary yellow as well as secondary purple. And group 6 is tertiary yellow green as well as tertiary purple magenta. So when we are mixing our contrasting colors, to make sure that our colors are actually working correctly in our color wheel, we want these combos to make either a gray-black or a brown or a tan kind of color. Now what I want you to do is basically lay out on a separate sheet of paper the combinations of 2, 3, and 4. These combinations are actually going to be more gray and black colors. After that, the next color combinations that we'll have are the brown color combinations. And these will be group 1, 5, and 6. So once you have these color combinations swatched and kind of mixed out, the next thing you want to do is kind of evaluate them. Right now, we are working with the traditional color wheel. So our colors will be a lot darker when compared to our modern color wheel, which we will look at later on. So as an example, when I was mixing up my grays for my traditional color wheel, I had permanent orange mixed with Winsor blue red shade, and I chose those because it was a 1 pigment as well as non-granulating. However, when mixing those together, it didn't quite satisfy my desire for gray. It was more of a greenish color. So what do you do if you don't like this color combination? We have been working strategically on how to build this color wheel. So now, how do we correct colors when we've already kind of locked colors in? The very first rule that I like to stick to is never change your primary colors. These should be completely locked in. We decided this on the first time we were playing around with our color wheel, and those shouldn't change. So the only thing you should be changing in this particular color wheel are secondary colors and tertiary colors if you don't like a contrasting color combination. And finally, the last rule is if I really need to change a color contrasting combo, I'm going to try and change a tertiary color. I really want my primary and secondary colors to stay as close as possible to what we were doing at the beginning of building our color wheel. However, tertiary colors, remember, they're kind of unlimited. We can mess around with these a bit. So as an example, when I was mixing up my grays for my traditional color wheel, I had permanent orange mixed with Winsor blue red shade. And since this is a tertiary color, I have a little bit more freedom of what I want to do. So after going back to the drawing board with this particular color combo, I found that French ultramarine was a color that I swatched earlier that would work well in this particular slot, as well as cadmium orange light. And these two colors work the best. So what I ended up with for my traditional gray combos was for group number 2, I ended up with Winsor red plus Phthalo green blue. For group number 3, I ended up with Scarlet Lake as well as Winsor blue green shade. And like I just said, for combo number 4, I ended up with cadmium orange light as well as French ultramarine. And those are my traditional gray color combinations. All right, now let's look at browns. So I swatched these up, and the first thing that I noticed is I really didn't like my color combination for permanent rose as well as phthalo green yellow shade. So since I have a primary color in this color combination, the one that I have to change would be the secondary, and I want to stay as close as possible to that secondary color. And one of the colors that I swatched, I was actually close to this one, was permanent green. So I'm going to take that information from a previous video and try mixing those two together to make a strong brown color combination. And this one I really, really like. It's giving me more of a burnt umber look, which is a great brown to have in my color palette. So this is the color combo that I'm going to keep. The next color combo that I had was Winsor Lemon as well as Winsor Violet, and these two actually make a really nice color combo together. So it basically makes a deeper kind of blacky color, but if you mix a little bit more of that yellow in, you'll get more of a deep, dark brown, which is really nice to have if you want those dark, shadowy brown colors. And then finally, my last color combo is group 6, which was permanent green pale with quintardone violet. And I personally didn't really like the way these two mixed together. So I wanted to try something different. And after doing some swatching, I decided to change the violet to quintardone lilac and then change the green to green gold. And since these are tertiaries, it's really easy to just play around and swap these colors around because once again, tertiaries are lovely that they are unlimited colors. And those are contrasting colors for the traditional color wheel. Now we're going to do the same thing with the modern color wheel. So the very first thing that I want to do is lay out my gray color combos and then my brown color combos. And after going through basically the same process that I did with the traditional colors, and I'm not going to bore you with that, these are the colors that I eventually ended up with the modern color wheel. So in my opinion, when I am using the color wheel, I feel like the most important aspect of my color wheel is actually the contrasting colors, because that is what makes your paintings look really dynamic. So that's why this step is so incredibly important. So I'm going to give you a preview of how I approach using these basically in an illustration, because this is what I'm going to be teaching next time. I'm going to be showing you how to choose colors with your color wheel for limited color palettes. Now, I do want to say this color wheel is just a tool. You don't have to use this once you start to really understand your colors and how they work together. A lot of artists will say, feel the color and stuff. And I always felt very frustrated with that because I was like, what do you mean by feel? Well, in my opinion, this is kind of like training wheels for a bike. Some kids can pick up riding a bike really, really fast and just get on and go with it. That's kind of artists who get color theory and it just snaps into place. And then others of us kind of need a little bit of a guide. And that's what this color wheel is. So it kind of just helps you pick and choose colors and then use them to the best of your ability. So once you start kind of playing around with this and getting a better understanding of how these colors work together, you eventually should be able to actually ditch the color wheel and understand what colors work well together and which ones don't. So yeah, next time we're going to be actually taking a drawing and choosing color palettes based on these color wheels and then breaking it down how we go about painting those with limited color palettes. So that is it for this video. If you enjoyed it and you made it all the way to the very end, what I want you to do is actually put a tiger emoji in the bottom. For people who are watching at the beginning, they're going to be like, what? Why is there a tiger emoji in the bottom? And really confuse them because they're not going to understand what's going on at the end of the video. But yeah, make sure to put a tiger emoji down. This is one of the paintings that we'll be doing next time that I've actually been working on. And as always, y'all, lots of love and happy painting.